Hello, this is Laerun with the Fantasy Grounds Academy. Today I'm going to explore a little bit of some Dragonlance content that I've been working with the last couple weeks. I picked some stuff up on the DMs Guild and online. Just want to kind of go over some of the resources that I'm working with before I get into this. So first things first, obviously I have Fantasy Grounds up. And what I'm going to be doing here is I have a calendar. This was created by Matacure. It's not available for the public, but it's a generic lunar calendar. It's an extension. It's been edited to just display the names of the Dragonlance world. So you have the calendar for the actual content in the Dragonlance world. And then also there is the Moon Tracker, which is another extension that was put out, which will essentially give you access to some of the cool functionality of tracking the moons. Now, the Dragonlance content that's out today for 5th edition doesn't really get too deep into the moon thing like it did in previous editions, but that doesn't mean you can't use it. It just means that you'll have to put more work into it to get it to work for you. And that's, that's fine if you want the immersion and you want to actually put in the work, then do it. And that's basically what I'm going to be doing today. It's kind of showing you that it takes a little work to make your campaign unique and stand out. Also, it's not as predictable as some of the content that's published because you have added things and kind of make it your own. So the content that you get online is great. It's a good starting point. You get maps and locations and stuff, but in general, you're going to have to really step up your game eventually and learn how to put in your own assets in the Fantasy Grounds. So that's a little bit of some of the stuff I'm going to be doing. And then also showing you some of the content that I've found. And at the end of the video, a lot of the content I'm using will be included in the link. So if you want to check it out yourself later, you can do so. So now I'm in the actual Fantasy Grounds startup screen here, and I've got the Dragonlance selected. It's 5th edition rule set. I have it connected to just my local area network, so it's not online. And the next font, Roboto thing, is the extension I have loaded just to make the fonts a little bit bigger, a little bit more readable. And then I'm using the free Baron theme, which is on the Fantasy Grounds Forge. And I think that's all the extensions I really have. I'm not really having any of them that really change the game too much. The Baron one does change the background, but as far as the fonts, Moon Tracker, and the Lunar Day Calendar, it doesn't really impact the load on Fantasy Grounds too much. It's not crazy. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and hit start. And while I'm loading that, I'm going to switch my screen over to some resources that I had been checking out for this particular show. And this is just stuff from the DMs Guild, but I wanted to make mention of it because there is some good content out there. And then I wanted to show you kind of like how the website is set up and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the display capture here. And as you can see, I have the DMs Guild here. If you look on the very left after you have an account set up here, you can switch the formatting. You can say you want Fantasy Grounds or Roll20 if you're using that. You can even change the languages. I'm just using this filter. As far as this product type goes, or the storyline, in this case, I'm going to click on Dragonlance. That's the only stuff I really want to see. I'm going to go ahead and take off the virtual tabletop format, even though there are a few things for it. And then just kind of give you an idea of the plethora. And then I'm going to go through and click on 5th edition, because I don't really want the other editions right now. And as you can see, there's a ton of stuff available. I picked up some of this stuff, and then you have this Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen. So if you want to pick that up for a PDF or for Fantasy Grounds, I'm pretty sure this will be out at some point. Let's take a look. I want to see if this is available for Fantasy Grounds yet. I would be surprised if it wasn't. Usually authors are pretty good about getting this out. Yeah, so it might be a little bit before that comes out, but nonetheless, there's a lot of good stuff on the actual guild that's not bad. The pricing isn't too bad, and if you do want to specifically have Dragonlance, you can just use the filters, and get that. The other thing I wanted to show you was the Dragonlance Nexus. This has been around for a while, so this is something that you can use for tools and such. I found a really cool map and a Dragonlance moon tracker. So that, let's see, Dragonlance Nexus. That's what I want. Yeah. So the Dragonlance Nexus is a independent free website where it has a lot of compiled information. And one of the things that I liked about it was, you know, you come over and you can filter by game system. So I clicked on 5th edition. There is a module up on the DM's Guild that this website has published as a group. So the Tasselhoff's Pouches of Everything is available on the DM's Guild. And then you can look at all this other articles and things that are related. And it's pretty neat that, you know, it's Tyranny of Dragons, Taladas conversion. So some people have taken some of the early editions of the games and kind of broke it into Tyranny of Dragons before the official rule set was released. And then I took a look at this map here. This is from Tasselhoff's Pouches of Everything. And you can even download this map. They have a, it says click on to open the full-size map. So the original Wondergraph map is linked here, locations, the locations from the Dragonlance source books, and some of these other things for the credits. So if you go to some of these links, you can see that how people had provided their own versions of these. So it's pretty nice. There's a lot of resources out there if you really look. I might even grab this one later, but I think I already have a version of it. But nonetheless, there's a lot of different things that you can grab online. So that's just a kind of a heads up on some of the resources that you might come across, especially if you're going to start the campaign. It's nice to take a little time before you even start and get your resources together. That's kind of what this first piece of this is about. And then, of course, you have the wiki guide. So there's all kinds of information here that you can grab, like get the characters out of here. They even got little portraits if you wanted to use those. I mean, for your personal use. But there's all kinds of things available. So there's no shortage of content. So I'm going to go back over to Fantasy Grounds. And what you'll see here is we have the actual content loaded. So I'm going to go ahead and load that up. And then I'm going to bring up a pointer program that will help illustrate. So that way you guys can see where I'm clicking and that sort of thing. So anyways, I got made this background, Canva. So I just loaded this program up. And then I'm going to show you some of this content in here. So in my library in modules, I have some content loaded here. I may or may not use it, but this is the Treasures of Krynn. Then you have the player's book from the Dragonlance official new release. Dragonlance player options comes from the DM's Guild with Vodcard. He actually put out a series of modules that he converted a couple years ago for the DnD5e rule set. So those are on the DM's Guild. I have the player's handbook loaded just for reference, and then I have the main adventure loaded here. Then I made my own creature codex from the Monster Compendium 2 on the DM's Guild. So I went and grabbed the information from there and put it into Fantasy Grounds myself, and it just adds a few more monsters to Fantasy Grounds. So there's the chart that comes with it, and then the NPCs. And I even went so far as to make some tokens for them. So when I pull up the NPCs, such as Ember the Dragon, it actually has a token and not just a letter token. So I went out of my way to kind of create that stuff. So if I go to my D&D Beyond account and check that out, I can show you kind of where I grabbed it from. But it was a kind of a special grab that they put out to kind of entice people to go to their website and kind of advertise for Dragonlance. But essentially, this this is what I was working on today, time amongst cleaning and everything else, getting ready for the holidays. So anyhow, I converted the small monster compendium over, so I'd have some additional creatures and such. And then all the artwork here, I went ahead and grabbed and put in myself, and I kind of cobbled all this together and took a screenshot. And then I used some AI generated art mixed in with some of the official art, so I kind of have like this poster, and so this is all going towards the immersion of using the software. So that's kind of what this is all about. And then I have some images that I put in the assets folder. So if I go to the assets and then I click on images, I go to campaign, and these are all the images that I've taken off the internet or I created myself. So you can actually import these into Fantasy Grounds to make it easier for you to access. I mean, they are already in Fantasy Grounds. They're just not pulled in as an asset for the campaign. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. So this is a preview of this chart here. And then you got this nice map here that someone made. So there's all kinds of images that I want to potentially use. Then I also found some tokens. I don't remember. I think I got them off the DM's Guild, but essentially these are tokens that are skinned and themed for the newer rule set or the newer version. So there's a few here that might be helpful during a game. And some of the images I found were actually recreations of maps, so they might work better with virtual tabletop. So I'm going to take a look at that later and see if those actually are true or not, if they're going to work. And remember, the size is like 70 dots per inch or 72 or something like that. So that makes them so they're more digestible and easier to use in Fantasy Grounds. So first things first is I'm going to go to campaign folder and images. So I should technically go in and rename all of the files in the assets so they're easier for me to figure out what they are once I import them. So one of the things I'm going to do is in this drop-down list, I have a thing called DL images, and this is where I'm going to put all of my images for the game, but that's not the exact folder. But yeah, so I'm going to make my own group, although I could use that one, but that goes to the module. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this green plus button to add a category, and its default name is group 1. So I'm going to click on this little red button over here on the right, and then rename this as DL campaign images. That way I have a separate folder so I can filter those out if I need to, so I don't mix up the official ones with my own stuff. And that's just for organizational purposes and also to kind of keep it clean. So I want to go to DL campaign images, okay? And then what I'm going to do is click on create from campaign assets. So this is after you've collected everything, renamed everything, you know, that sort of thing, which I haven't done. I'm too lazy, but you should go in technically and rename those. So if I go to assets and I'll go to the images folder under my campaign area, these are all the different images in here. Some of these are named okay, but like these maps, they may not be named very well, but I'm not going to worry about it. So you go ahead and click on create from image assets. What this will do is pull in all of them at once instead of doing it one at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. It's going to give me a warning message. Says, are you sure you want to do this? And say yes. Now, if you plan on adding more stuff, I wouldn't do it that way. But if you got a majority of it or you have all of it, then I would go ahead and do that, or you can just add them as you go. But now all the images are available in the campaign. So when I click on these, I can bring up, so this is just an asset that has the Dragonlance logo. So I might want to use that on one of my maps. Let's see. So here's a map of Abyssinia, which may or may not be nice, but there's a picture of it. This came from one of the some of the content that I got off the DM Guild. So there's that, and then there's some battle maps that I wanted to look at that are related to the content. So let's take a look at that. So this is the one of the maps from the DM's Guild. These are 72 DPI, or dots per inch. So before you line up your grid and turn that on, you can actually tell Fantasy Grounds what size the grid is, which is important. Then I have the moon chart here that we can use. I got 2 different variations of it. I was doing some research on that earlier. I want to use it. Here's another map of Dragonlance for the main continents. This one's really nice. I like how this one turned out. So let's see what it looks like if I expand this out. So I'm just going to right click, go to view, zoom to fit. So that's pretty good. It doesn't have any labels, but it's got it's got the scale on here, and it's just really nicely drawn. And you can kind of put in your own labels as you go if you want. So that's really neat. And when I zoom in, it's not too bad. I mean, it get pretty close. So that's really nice. And there was another one, a really detailed map that this is from, I believe it's from the official content, but this is one of my favorite artists. She's phenomenal. But this is Blando's map, but there's another one that was created that's similar to this that is just phenomenal. I wish I had it, but I don't. It's probably in the official content though. So yeah, this is really nice. This has some of the major cities on there, stuff. So this is just some of the content that I've grabbed in case I need it for this. So these maps that I got, these battle maps, are a little bit more friendly towards the actual adventures and stuff. I'm gonna take a look before I commit to that. So if I go to, let's go to here's Shadow of the Dragon Queen maps. And this is Grid Bones, left side, Dragonlance Companion. So let's see what this shows. So Assault on Hawker's Grove. So there's that. So these maps are more painted, and they don't quite, I mean, they work, but they're just not quite what I would hope for this. So here's some more maps here. So this is the Blue Maw Cave. So I want to see what else we got here. Here's Calaman's map. Calaman is a city, one of the main cities. That's not too bad. I like the city map. So 100 feet is this little thing here. So if you wanted to scale this to get a rough idea of how far things are from each other, you could unlock it, of course. You can make it hexes, or you can get the whatever you want, but I think I'll just use squares. So I'm going to go to the grid, and I'm just going to turn on the grid for right now, see what we got. Okay, so this is at 97, which looks like it's close, but we'll see. And I'm going to change the grid type to like probably this yellow or dark green, something that shows up. Oh, here's this dark purple. All right, so I'm going to turn that down a little bit. And I'm going to move this over, but I need to resize it. So I'm going to go with 70 for right now, or 72. That's the dot matrix pitch thing was, or whatever the dots per inch. Take this and move this over. Yeah, so I want it to be a little bit bigger now. So let's go with 100. And then my next guess will be 140, because these I don't really know the actual scale, but I'm just going to scale it to where I can use it. Let's see. So I'm just trying to scale it to this little legend here. Let's see what we got here. So that's pretty close. Yeah, that's really close. So 98 maybe? 7? So this is what happens when you don't know the scale. Start guessing and playing around with this all day. I got all day, so I'm not. So I think 96 is going to be the magic number, which sounds, yeah, so 96 is probably good. And then that just gives you a rough idea of the scale of things so that you can sort of move this around. Then you can kind of line up the actual map with the grid more if you want once you have the size. So I'm going to go ahead and take the, see, I got this. There's some tags here. What is that? Labels. I don't remember. Okay. So this Calvin map must have been already set up to a point. There's some labels on here. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, you can, I see. They've took the labels and made it to where you can turn them on. All right, cool. So the labels they can be shown when you're exploring the map, or if you need to see something and you don't want it to be covered. And I went ahead and set the grid there, which was nice. And then if I wanted to, I can move the map, but I'm not going to because it'll mess up the label. And this was already set to something. I don't remember what the actual guy was, but there I like to have it to where the map is actually matching this and not just an arbitrary number. So that works pretty good. So let's look at this. So here's a Battle for the Hill map. So they're not too bad. So that's cool. Let's see, Retreat from Steel Springs. A lot of these are outdoor maps, which makes this a little. If there's any actual outpost map. Yeah, so here's a actual kind of more of a battle map, but it is outdoors still. Yeah, that's not too bad. So the maps that come with the Dragonlance actual adventure aren't too bad. So you may not need to swap out too many maps if necessary, but there are lots of different things that you might come across. But this is some of the artwork that came from content that I converted. Just put them in there as a transparent PNG file. It looks really nice because you can see through the back of this paint. So it looks. All right, so let's take a look at the adventure. So I'm just kind of working off the last episode I did with Dragonlance stuff. We're kind of getting kind of in the weeds here with all of the different content and things that you can get and put into Fantasy Grounds. So kind of assuming I need that stuff, but I may not ever use it. So you got to kind of balance that out with how much you really need and type of stuff you're going to use. I definitely want to use this moon tracker thing. That's something that I like from the old edition. Grab the, see, calendar. Yeah, so I didn't add the calendar in properly. So this should have had the Dragonlance stuff in. It didn't because I had the wrong calendar. But you can set up the moons and stuff. I'll have to fix that later. But essentially, I need to get rid of the unload the module and reload something like that. All right, so fresh. Let's go take a look at the adventure. So if I go to Dragonlance, the way they did this is the adventure actually exists in the reference manual. So it's not in the story entry. So if you go to the stories and you into this story area, it's not in there. It's actually in the reference manual. So if you go down to the modules and you open up the adventure, this is where the adventure stuff is. It's in the actual reference manual. So when you want to read the book and use it, you can use the reference manual. They've also unlocked it, so you can unlock this and edit it the way you want, just like you would a regular adventure in the story entry, but they chose to do this in the reference manual format to see how it goes. So essentially, you could build your own story. Let's take a look at chapter 2. So here's Prelude to War. This kind of gets into how this is going to work. Here's the adventure flowchart. So before arriving in Vogler, the characters encounter strange magic, a divine vision, or something worse. And that's for level 1 characters in chapter 2. So that's one you'd probably prepare for. Let's see. And then the third chapter is second to third level characters. Characters visit the village of Vogler and protect its people from invasion. So that's as this gets deeper in here. So this adventure flowchart is pretty handy. I like how this is done. Looks really good too. And then the Dragon Queen's threat is talking about the Draconians and how all the things are shaping up in the lore. And then there's a table that you can roll on here. So meeting Isman Greenshield. So this gives you some story ideas, like how you might have met him and how you. So players should use Chapter 1 to create characters connected to Kryn and, if possible, to one another. They should also have each a connection to a mutual friend named Isman Greenshield. Isman has recently passed away, and the characters are invited to his funeral in Vogler. So there's a table here that you can roll on to decide if you want to, how you want to roll this out in adventure. The only thing I don't like about this is wonder why there's no table here. So I want to take a look at tables and see if there's one that was created in the story data. So treasure. So here, Vogler's battlefield events or meet. Yeah, so this is chapter 3. So some of the tables are in here, but I don't know why they didn't make this table. So you could essentially do it yourself. You can unlock this and go and do it yourself. But it'd be nice to be able to roll on a table. You can just roll a d6 and read that out loud. But I would actually have a table here where I could come in here and edit this. So let's see, that's character connections. Come in here and you can actually unlock this and make your own table. So that is that. Let's see. So I would probably make the table first and then link it in. That's what I would do. So if you wanted to do that, you can open up a new group or category. So it will be called under group 2. So here's, I'll edit this. So I'm just going to say custom tables or something like that. So I have my own. This table shouldn't be very hard to build. This is real basic. Custom tables. And then this one I don't need. Custom tables, custom Dragonlance tables. Okay, now that I have that, do with this stuff is copy and paste the data from the table. And then hit Control C for copy. And then you can import. So I'm going to import the text. And I think what I'm going to do is just paste it in here and kind of get an idea. Yeah, so the way this is, this formatting isn't going to work. So I have to do a delimited one and then sit here and put commas in here. It's probably better to create this just inside the tables for the simpler one. But this is how you can import one if you want to take the time to fix this. So if I copy and paste this data here, this is a meeting of Isman Greenshield. I can put that in here and then just go down this list and read this. But see, you have all these brackets in here. That's not going to work. So these square brackets, if you go to try to import this, it's going to break the import potentially. But I'll see what happens. Let's see what it does. It's not going to hurt. So I'm going to actually, let's see, column headers in first row. Say, yeah, because there's 1d6 and then experience. And then table ranges in the first column. Yeah. See what it does. It may not do it right, but yeah, see what happened is since it wasn't broken down correctly, it didn't import it correctly. So that's what happened there. Yep. So you got to use commas and stuff to delimitate inside of there so that you don't have that issue. So I'll just go ahead and delete that. Or actually I can edit it. If I come over here and go to the edit, I can actually change this to a D6 because I don't need to get rid of some of these columns here. So to delete some columns. There we go. And then we're going to call this the experience. That's what it is. And then this is going to be a 1d6 when we're done. So I'll just delete that. So that's a 1d6 now. And then all I'm going to do is copy and paste all that text over. And that should clean this up. So it won't be too bad. And then I'm going to put the page number or whatever, it's chapter 2, up here in the description. So you know where it comes from. I hate that when you have corresponding information and you don't know where it came from. You got to dig through the book. All right, so there's the 1d6 column and then the experience. So had I taken the time to format this, I wouldn't have to do this manually, but this isn't too bad. It's a really small table, so I don't mind this. So I'll just copy and paste the text from each one of these cells over into the corresponding location here. I don't like the fact that it keeps those brackets in there because you're using an inline table. That's kind of what it's doing. It's saying, you know, this is a table, but I'll copy and paste that in first and then I'll fix that up. So I don't want to keep switching modes here. That's how things end up taking forever. So I'm just going to come through and copy and paste this data each line. This doesn't have to be a rollable table. Instead, you can just roll a die and just tell people what it says, but I kind of like to have this as a table. So I want to roll. So the whole idea is to roll using Fantasy Grounds. So I don't mind doing it manually, just prefer to have a table. So let's see. So now I'm going to do is get rid of square brackets. We don't, and any extraneous have spaces in here. Just going to come through. So if I would have taken the time to actually format this, it would be a hell of a lot easier trying to do this. Feeling lazy. That's what I'm paying for it now. So if you do the work up front, it's going to take a lot less on the back end. Do it kind of half-ass and lazy like I'm doing now, that's when it just becomes cumbersome. So just kind of a heads up on that. Let's see. That, yep. Okay, so now that that's in there, now I'm going to test it. I can roll. Yep, rolls out in the chat. It says that it's been visited your homeland, bringing him. Yeah, so I kind of like it that way. So I can send it out to the chat that way. So that's kind of cool. And I don't know if you want to roll for each player or if one of these pertains to everyone or however you want it. But in the notes section back here, you can put the stuff here. So you can unlock this and put some of this literature in here. So you could do that. So you can have some of that information there. All right, so once you have the table made, if you want to insert it into Fantasy Grounds, probably find a home for it. Let's see what add. So maybe I will add it section here. So I'm just going to make a space there. It's going to link this link right there. And now when I lock it, I actually have a rollable table. I can pop that up. Oh, no, goes to the chat. So I don't know why that table wasn't created, but Nonetheless, it's not a big deal. I'm just very picky about that stuff. I want, if I'm paying for this stuff, definitely want it in there. So that's a table. I don't know. Maybe it is already in the tables. I didn't look carefully. So let's see. There's players book, background data, out of the draft. Yeah. So there's nothing here for chapter 2. Looks like he built all the ones from, or whoever did this conversion. They did this from. See, they made a table for the Kender taunts. And see, I'm not sure where this comes up. Let me look and see. So I want to get out of the edit mode or lock this back up, and I'm going to search for Kender taunts. If that's even in. Kender's. So this must be in the other book. So let me take a look. So it's probably in the players side of things. So it may not have a chapter. This shows what source it's from. And this doesn't have a label, so I don't know where this table comes from. That's why I don't like that. Let me take a look at the other tabs, see if they did back there. No, see, this is what I would personally, if I was doing the conversion for this, I would have definitely put some kind of note as to where this table comes from. So this is probably in the characters area. So if I open up back to the modules, and they're going to move, I think they're going to try to move reference manual out here, so you don't have to keep going into here and getting it buried. So what I'm going to do is take the reference manual from here and drag and drop it to the hotkeys for now. But I think what they're going to do is make it available for your campaign so you don't have to keep doing that. Let's take a look at this reference manual. Check out the table. So this might be a character option. So table. Kender taunts. Let's see. So here are some traits. There's a taunt. It talks about it there, but I don't see any tables. It's in the other. Yeah, this is what I mean about this. It's just, I don't know. I would think that it at least see it's here, but where did this come from in the? Let's see. So I want to go back to the adventure reference manual. Try that again. Ender skirmisher table. Skirmisher. Yeah, I don't even know where that comes from. It might be from a whole other source. Let's see, so here, treasures. I don't know. To be honest, I have no idea where that comes from. So, looks like it's official. Let's see, should I be scared? Maybe this is in the background. Dragonlance background. Chosen by. Chosen. Yeah, I don't. No idea. Let me check the races. Attached to the races. Let's go to actual button here. And let's take a look at Dragonlance. Ender. Okay, so they mentioned the taunt here, but I don't see this table anymore. Here's the traits. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. So that's kind of annoying. I just don't understand what the heck where it comes from, or if that's even. Let's see, it is part of the player. So Dragonlance, Shadow of the Players. Okay, so that no, that's that. But where's that table from? Let's take a look. So let's go to tables. Let's take a that shadow. Let's see. Player's Handbook, Shadow of the Dragon Queen. Okay, so this is in the D&D Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen. So it is somewhere in the adventure part of this. It's not in the... It's just weird, like where exactly it was. So I'm going to go to this Shadow of this Dragon Queen. This up. Yep, it's in here. But where in the adventure does that get pulled? So I want to go to this, and let's go to the appendix or tables, random items, manual. Maybe there's an appendix spec. Sidekicks. That. Ish foes. Let's see. I'm going to type out some of the text that appears in the table. Should I in the test? Should I pretend? Yeah, I don't want to get hung up on this too much, but this is the kind of thing that you might get involved with when you're actually setting up. So, yeah, if anyone could just tell me where this actually comes from out of the content, that'd be excellent. I could go to D&D Beyond and look. Maybe it's got a better search engine. I don't know. It seems kind of weird that you got this random table. It doesn't have any idea where it comes out of. I mean, it's saying that it's attached to the book, but tender taunts. I mean, is it in the reference manual or is it only a table? I mean, get it. Tender taunts. Is it in just skirmisher thing? Skirmisher. Oh, yeah, it's a table. It comes right out of there. Okay. So this is linked in here, and then it's linked to the datas in here. So you wouldn't see this table unless you were actually building the characters or something like that. So, it's an NPC, so that's probably what it is. Okay, that makes sense then. But that's where it comes from. So honestly, I would put that somewhere in the notes. So if I went to this Kender here and unlock this, I would put something in the back of the, not the NPC race, but the actual table. This thing, I would definitely put something in here to tell you where this comes from. So I'm going to put Kender Skirmisher. So that way I know kind of what the heck it's from. Because at first I was like, what? Why would you do this? Okay, so Kender Skirmisher. So that's where these notes come in, so you know what this is about. And then this is also probably linked to the NPC. So when you play this Skirmisher, you actually have a copy of that table, so you can roll on it. And there's a bunch of like silliness. So it says, I wish I could be like you and just not care how I look or smell or dress. So brave. Yeah, these are little taunts, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, you can make your own too. These are just kind of suggested, but nonetheless, pretty cool. All right, so there's that. So there goes that mystery. So this is kind of the thing that you want to do when you're exploring your content. Is kind of get familiar with it. Like where is everything? Let's check out the first part of this. So going to this, I'll link the reference manual to it, so I don't have to keep coming back here every 5 seconds. And then going to take a look at this Prelude to War again. This is the Character Connections Pronunciation Guide. So it's really just an invitation to a funeral. Each character's agreed to attend Ismund's funeral and has set off on the road to Voglar. The extent of this undertaking might vary for each character. Characters who travel by sea will disembark at the port of Kalaman, and then they'll travel by road to Voglar. The characters' travels are largely uneventful until the final leg of their journey, see Prelude section, and then that's where it starts. So let's take a look. So here's the pronunciation guide for all the names, and then we get to the Prelude. So these are essentially where things start. There's the invitation. Looks like to get there. Reference manual note. Just kind of cool how they incorporated that. All right, see. And then there is your focus on the group. And what else? There's the note. And then here are the different things. Stand at the center of a forest clearing. Flashing steel echoes from the thicket beyond. So it kind of goes into the. It's like you go into a small battle potentially. And then there's a statue here. Still in Prelude. So the Prelude focus on characters who are apprentice spellcasters aspiring to take the test of high sorcery. Characters of any background are welcome, but the focal characters must be able to cast spells. Spellcasting characters with no interest in joining the mages of the high sorcery might participate in the Scales of War Prelude instead. So you have to place this Prelude. Basically tells you how this works, and then you go into how you're going to incorporate your characters into the adventure, and then it comes up with and then the Scales of War, another part of this. Interesting. There's a fallen caravan. These are encounters. There's a parcel. I don't see a map, so it must be a lot of theater of the mind stuff. Parcel, encounter. So yeah, so these are just looks like a lot more theater of the mind until you get to chapter 3. So again, this is going to sound a little redundant, but it almost seems like you're going to need a battle map here if you want to. You don't have to use it. You can do theater of the mind, but it looks to me like you're going to need something if you want to use the Fantasy Grounds as a tactical battle map. Otherwise, just run it theater of the mind with no battle map. But it just amazes me how they do that. I think they should include something basic. So let's take a look at our maps and see if we have anything that might be helpful. So there's a wrecked wagon that lies toppled, surrounded by armored corpses. Strange figures pick through the remains. From beneath the figures, dark clothes, just scaly wings and sharp. Yeah, so this reminds me a lot of the. So here's a caravan. Yeah, so this reminds me of kind of Lost Mine. You know, you go into this thing and you don't have a battle map. So if you're new to Fantasy Grounds, you're going to be looking for that. But I think it's really up to the DM, like how you want to present the data. But essentially, you're going to probably need a battle map. So let me see if I have any yet. So I'm going to go to the assets that I found. Dragonlance images. Campaign images. Let's see. Travel path. That would be helpful for Overland. Yeah, so that's not going to help. Let's see. Dragonlance players. It's that. Go with the. Let's see. Backgrounds. Here are the maps. Okay. So. Kalaman. Yeah, I'm going to have to look at this more, but it's looking more and more like you don't have a battle map. You got these encounters, and they're not assigned to any map. So just a heads up, that first adventure, you might want to find a a battle map that's similar to the one you use for the ambush when it comes to the goblin ambush in Lost Mine of Phandelver. That's crazy. See, here's the continent of Ansalon. This is the... Oh, here's the map that I was talking about. This thing is so gorgeous. This is top notch. This is my favorite artist too. She is from Italy. I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but yeah, this is really nice. What's kind of cool is you can pin probably your own location. So a lot of this is going to take place over here in the eastern part of Solamnia. This is where Calaman is over here, somewhere on the coast over here. There's Estwild. Let's see. This is where you're bound. I know it's somewhere over here. Let's go inland. Well, here's Calaman right here. So you're going to be starting in this area here. So I would actually go and make some kind of reference and then pin it there. So, you know, you could pin things back and forth to make things a little easier for yourself. But yeah, that's crazy. So I would find a map just in case, or I could use an image. So I wouldn't have to necessarily use a battle map. I could use some of the artwork and just throw a grid on that if you want to use that in a tactical sense. So if I go to images and let's go with see, these are maps. Let's check out, maybe there's something a little. See, here's that, which would be helpful for overland travel. There's the rated threshold Bogler city map. So this is where you're headed to. Okay. And then escape from Bogler. That's probably chapter 3. So mess with that. Yeah, so I think you're going to end up probably wanting to get a little map if you want to use Fantasy Grounds tactically. So this might be something that you're going to want to take a look at before you start playing. But that would be helpful. You don't have to have a battle map. It's just really helpful when you do have one in case. But like I said, I'm going to go to the artwork and just pick something out of here. So here's like the Drake, like here we go. Exactly, just that. This comes out of the actual adventure at that point when you're getting ready to potentially fight. So I'll go to view, resume to fit, and then unlock it, throw a grid on it. So it's 50 by 50 right now. So turn on the grid, and then yeah, that's perfect. And then just take the grid and maybe recolor it a little so we can see what's going on. It's not too crazy or too hard to see. And then maybe turn up this a little bit. Yeah, so you can use something like this. You can even really make this really cool. Like you can add your own little effects on here. So if I go to effects, this layer tool, drop down, I'm going to use mist. And then I'm going to put a mask on it because I don't want it to go across the whole map. So this is just the area that it's going to be in. I'm going to put the blur tool in so it kind of blurs it a little. And then turn down the amount and the speed. So that kind of gives it the illusion of movement. Kind of gives you that misty kind of look to it. So that's cool. So this is what I would use for my battle map. If you don't have one, you can just use any image you want. You don't have to have a forest tactical map, but this is pretty cool. This is what I would do. And I'd put all my characters. So if I go to the, let's see, this is the combat tracker. Here's all the characters here. Of course, they don't have tokens, but these are all the main characters from the original series. So if you take and grab those, drop them on here, you can put them on the map just to make it. Let me Could be because I don't have the images. Yeah, I don't have any tokens. That's why they don't like going. Anyways, so that's how you do that. Let me see if I can find something for Richland. So see, I don't have a portrait. So if I go into here, see, I do have tokens, but I didn't think of putting them on. See, is there Fizban's portraits? Oh, want something. Was a shadow of the. This might work. AI generated mail. Barbarian, bards, clerics, druids, monks, rogues, warriors. Yep. So I'll just use one of these just for the heck. Right, that. Okay, so once you have a token on there, now we'll let you put them on there. You need to have a token. That's why. But yeah, that's basically what I would do to make sure that that's going to work. So these are the little things that you'll go through when you're setting up and prepping for a game. I'm still kind of exploring the content. I don't know it as well as some of the other stuff, but from what I can tell, there's no battle map in first combat because the encounters are not linked to any map in particular. So you'd either have to provide your own or run everything in the combat tracker or theater of the mind. So if I go back to this reference manual and then I go to this preludes, this is where the adventure actually starts getting going. And once you get through here, you'll start, going to read through it. But there's some crumbling stone structures. Okay, so this is a mysterious symbol in the temple. This is where you get the divine manifestation. This is where you start the adventure. And then once you get through here, there's this fallen caravan. It says a wrecked wagon lies toppled, surrounded by armored corpses. Strange figures pick through the remains. Or beneath the figures, dark cloaks, just scaly wings and sharp reptilian features. So you'd send that over to the chat. And then you would run your thing. So you'd have to determine if they're attacking or retreating. So if the Draconians notice the characters, the K-Pack Draconians orders 2 of the Boz Draconians to attack, then slip away. Boz Draconians are battered from the fight with the Knights and have half their normal hit points. Retreating Draconians won't fight the characters under any circumstances. They have orders to immediately rejoin Dragon Army elsewhere and report the Knight's fate. So there's 2 different encounters here, one for retreating and then one for attacking. So what you would do is send this to the combat tracker, and then you could add these to the map as you see fit. So I could drag these over ahead of time, kind of set them on this battle map. They're not visible, but at least I have them on the map ready to go if I was going to use them. So you could do something like that, kind of facilitate your needs there. And then when the encounter starts, of course, you can reveal them and interact with them depending on initiative order. So that's kind of what I'm going to do next time I work on this, is I'm going to take and get this organized to where when you're getting ready to run this, it's easier to do. This is a lot of work just for first encounter because you're learning about the location, all the characters, the motivations behind what they're doing, trying to incorporate them into the world, all that stuff. So that would be like a session 0, session 1, and then I would run this adventure or this encounter probably session 2. That way it gives your players a chance to get used to their characters, and it gives you time to kind of get things dialed in. But I would definitely set yourself up with something like this, and to actually get research. But that's pretty much all I'm going to go through today. I think I've covered a lot of different things, kind of scattered, but I was collecting resources and such, so I just wanted you to see that process a little bit. And then I added some maps and other things, so we'll see. Anyways, take